Hello everybody, it's Kim. I'm on day 14, 2 full weeks of my extreme budget challenge. And over the last couple of days, I was able to get quite a few cucumbers out of my garden. They're not the prettiest things in the world, but they taste good. So I'm going to use about 3 of these for now, and some fresh dill that I picked. And I'm going to make a simple, very simple cucumber salad. And I'm going to peel these up real quick and get them ready to go, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. All right, for this particular recipe, I want to draw some of the moisture out of these cucumbers. So I'm just going to work on slicing them up fairly thin, less, maybe an 1/8 inch thick or so. They don't have to be super thin. And of course, the longer you let them go, the more flavor gets into them. So I sliced it up a little bit, and I'm going to just place them in the bottom of my colander here, or this is actually to my salad spinner. So I'm going to slice those up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, as you can see, I have one layer in the bottom, and I still have a lot of cucumber to go. So in between each layer, I just like to put on a sprinkle, and you don't use a lot, just a dash of salt. Put your next layer in there and continue to salt them lightly, and then set it over by your sink and let it go for a good half hour. You'll see some of that water start draining out of the cucumbers. Okay, while my cucumbers are over there kind of getting their extra juice off, the next step is really optional, but I happen to like dill, and I picked a bunch of it from the garden, and I'm just gonna kind of chop these little fronds up just a bit so I can add them to my cucumbers. Funny thing is I don't really like pickles, but I do like this cucumber salad. Maybe it's just the freshness that I like better than pickles that are in a jar. And I can control the amount of dill that I have in it, and sourness and sweetness and all that other good stuff. So I'm just going to chop these, and I do like the little flowers just because they add a pretty little touch of color sometimes. All right, so I'm going to take my dill, and I'm just going to drop it in a mason jar. It's just an easy way to mix everything up. The next thing I'm going to add is I have apple cider vinegar here that I purchased for this challenge. I'm going to start with 3. Now, depending on how many cucumbers you used, you may have to double or even triple this. I always start with the kind of a lower amount, and then, well, that's going to be good on the vinegar for sure. I should have measured my sugar first. I need 1 tablespoon of my oil. And then I need a tablespoon of sugar, and since my tablespoon's already, you can go up to a tablespoon. It depends on how much sweetness you want. So anywhere from a teaspoon to a tablespoon. And that's pretty much the dressing for those cucumbers. All I have to do is shake it up now. And once I'm done with the cucumbers, I will rinse them off a bit because I don't like the extra salt. And then I can salt it to taste. But I'll show you that step here in a second. So here's some of the dressing. And like I said, if it's not enough, it's no big deal to make a little bit more. All right, I'm not sure how well you could see this, but it's really pulled out quite a bit of liquid. You see on some of them, they look really, really wet. That's what we're trying to do, is just get rid of a little bit of that water that's in the cucumbers, because it can really dilute your dressing solution. So I'm going to rinse these off. I'm going to put them on a paper towel and dry them before I move on to just mixing everything together. All right, so here's my cucumbers. As you can see, I just did a light dry on them. They are going to go into my bowl that I'm going to serve them out of. Shake up. I did double my recipe for the dressing because this is usually for like 1 or 2 smaller cucumbers, and I used 3. And it can be used again for a couple of weeks, really. So I'm just going to put those in there. toss everything together. I'll come back every now and then just to stir it, make sure that all the little cucumber pieces have some of that, I keep calling it dressing, I don't know what else to call it, on top. Now, honestly, if you have an abundance of cucumbers and tomatoes, you can do the same thing with half tomatoes, half cucumbers, leave the dill out. You could add some chives or whatever you want to it and still use pretty much the same dressing. Again, add the sugar to your taste. If you like it a little bit sweeter, add a little bit more sugar. If you like it a little more tart, don't use as much. So the last step is just to taste one for seasoning, and that's about right. So, you know, some salt does stay on them. Anyway, that's my quick cucumber salad. I will taste it again once it's been marinated for a while. Just any seasonings, tartness, whatever. And there you go. Nice side dish for dinner, lunch, or just a snack. Welcome back, everybody. It's Kim. I am going to do a very simple, quick dinner tonight. My little Zoe is very sick today, and I had to have her into the emergency vet. So I'm just kind of throwing something together. Went out to the garden and picked one of my small cabbages. The onions have decided to finish off, much smaller than I was hoping for, but it came out of the garden as well. I have some green beans here. I still have garlic and ginger, a few carrots. I made up a pot of rice and I have 3 eggs, and well, in the refrigerator, I forgot to get it out, is 1 egg white. So I'm going to do a cross between a stir fry and a fried rice type thing. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare all my vegetables. Right, just like I usually do with my fried rice, I have my vegetables cut up, and I'm going to start with the ones that take the longest to cook, which is my onion. I have a couple tablespoons of oil in there. And my carrot. I'm going to saute those for just a couple of minutes till the onions are a little translucent. This is why it's more like a stir fry, because I have the heat up rather high. And I use a deeper pan for this. So anyway, I'm going to continue to stir fry my vegetables. My camera's also getting very low. The cabbage will go in next. Then I'm going to throw in my green beans. Actually, the cabbage I can do. I didn't use all of it because I want to use it for another meal. Just want to add, some vegetables to our food here. This year has been pretty rough on the garden. It's at least a month behind. And I have gotten, for the first time in over 40 years of gardening, I've gotten absolutely no zucchini. Usually I have so much that I can dehydrate it and make a flour out of it, but this year so far I haven't gotten anything. My cucumbers just started coming in, so at least I have those. And my green beans, I lost more than half of them early on. Something ate them right down to the ground. So I have to look at harvesting a few things so that I can replant those. But anyway, I'm going to get these stir-fried real quick here, as I'm doing. I like my vegetables still to have some crunch to them when I use them, quite a bit actually. If I had my way, I would eat almost every vegetable raw. I actually go out in the garden when I'm picking beans and stuff and eat those right off the vines half the time. I just realized I really haven't had anything to eat today other than munching on some veggies earlier, but you know, I could definitely just stand to lose some weight, so I'm not that worried about it. Alright, so let me get this a little further along, and I'll be right back. I took my veg out real quick because I want to keep that vibrant color. And you can add more oil, or in this case I'm just adding a little bit of water. I can get some of that stuff off the bottom. That stuck just a little bit. I'm going to toss my rice in here. Not sure how much we're going to use tonight. But it's always good for leftovers regardless. And so it's been cooled for a little bit, so it's kind of sticky. But usually when you do a fried rice, you kind of like it a little colder. The less fresh, the less they tend to stick together. I'm going to warm these up just like I do, you know, for fried rice. Give them a minute to warm up. I'm going to add some soy. Of course, that's to taste. I like a lot more than the guys do. This is why I take my veg out. They don't get brown. They stay that pretty color. Just want to toss my rice for a minute. And then once I'm done with that, I will add my eggs. Once I know they're starting to get warmed up, let them cook. And let me at least get that part started. And we'll finish up here real quick. That only took a couple quick seconds here. I'm going to add my egg. Probably could have done with just 2 and the white, because the white was rather large. Stir my egg in. A lot of people do this different. I happen to like when it mingles with the rice a little bit. Obviously, if I was doing a stir fry, I wouldn't have egg in it. I would just do that separate. But I want to cook this down a little bit. Concentrate my fire under the eggs a bit. And once the eggs are done, I'll combine everything and pretty much be ready to serve it up. So I'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay, I'll admit it's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but that's why I leave the vegetables a little bit more vibrant. I'm just going to reuse this bowl that I had the veg in for myself. Makes a pretty good serving. And you know what? I wish I had some either teriyaki sauce or oyster sauce or whatever. It would make it a little bit more delicious, but there you go. Not so bad for a meal I put together in less than 15 minutes anyway. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Keep Zoe in your thoughts, please, and hope that she feels better tomorrow. And guys, have a wonderful night.